The Awakening, the Revised Edition, by Lilac Moon. Chapter 20, Rescuing the Princess. Governor Tarkin sat in his conference room as he listened to a report from one of his officers. Resistance to the mine probe is considerable. We have not yet been able to extract the information, the officer reported. Tarkin was silent for a long moment, deep in thought. We will try an alternative form of persuasion. Set a course for Alderaan, Tarkin ordered. Yes, sir, the officer replied. Rex sat down on the bench seated across from Obi-Wan in the cabin, noticing Luke's absence. Where's Luke? He asked. Obi-Wan smirked. Taking an unsupervised tour of the ship, of course. He is his father's son and couldn't wait for Captain Solo to give him a tour. I remember some of Anakin's first voyages in space, and he was the same way. Travelling among the stars is in Luke's blood. I see the same childlike wonder on Luke's face now that I did on Anakin's first space voyage, all those years ago, Obi-Wan said wistfully. Hey, no need for sadness. I'm about to get my best friend back, and you're getting your brother back. And a very deserving couple of kids are about to meet their real parents. Rex mentioned. Obi-Wan nodded. Yes, I know. But I think we should wait until after we rescue Leia, so that we can tell them both everything together. Obi-Wan said. Yeah, like, they're twins, among other things. Rex replied as Luke re-entered the cabin. Their conversation quieted and Obi-Wan began a new one with Luke, as he explained the Force. Something Rex was never sure actually existed, until he had seen the Jedi use it so amazingly. Rex knew that Luke would follow in his father's footsteps and become a great Jedi one day. We've entered the Alderaan system, the officer reported to Tarkin, who now stood on the main bridge area of the Death Star, with Lord Vader at his side. Leia was brought in by several stormtroopers. Governor Tarkin, I should have known it was you holding Vader's leash. I could recognize your foul stench when I was brought on board, Leia said haughtily. Tarkin joggled. Charming, Tarkin mused before continuing. Princess Leia, in light of your uncooperative attitude, we have decided to demonstrate the power of this station, Tarkin said. The more you tighten your grip, the more star systems will slip through your fingers, Leia replied. Once the power of this weapon is demonstrated, no one will oppose the Emperor. We have decided to demonstrate the power of this station on your home planet of Alderaan, Tarkin said. Leia saw Alderaan looming outside the view window, and panic began to strike at her heart. No! Alderaan is peaceful! We have no weapons! You can't! Leia said, but was cut off by Tarkin. Then name this system. I grow tired of asking. Where is the rebel base? Tarkin asked dangerously. Leia lowered her head in defeat. On Dantooine. They're on Dantooine, she repeated. There, you see, Lord Vader? She can be reasonable. You may fire when ready, Tarkin ordered. What? Leia screamed. Dantooine is far too remote to make an effective demonstration. But don't worry, we'll deal with your rebel friends soon enough, Tarkin said. Commence primary ignition, one of the officers said, as the main weapon was powered up. The Death Star fired on Alderaan, and the planet exploded in a brilliant display of fire. Alderaan was gone, and Leia lowered her head in sadness, as she was dragged back to her cell. After explaining a few things about the Force to Luke, he began instructing him on how to use his lightsaber, the one that had belonged to Anakin, starting him with the basics. Right now he was practicing with a practice remote and learning how to parry the remote's tiny blasts. Suddenly, an overwhelming explosion of terror assaulted his senses through the Force, and Obi-Wan had to steady himself to keep from collapsing from the myriad of intense feelings. What's wrong? Luke asked. There has been a great disturbance in the Force, Obi-Wan stated. It is as if, suddenly, millions of voices cried out in terror before being silenced. Obi-Wan continued. Continue with your exercises, Luke. Obi-Wan said as he sat down and exchanged glances with Rex, who looked as confused as Luke. At that moment, Han came back into the cabin. "Okay, I got us into hyperspace. We should be arriving in the Alderaan system soon," he announced, but no one acknowledged him. "Don't everyone thank me at once," he said as he sat down next to Chewie, watching Luke curiously, while Chewie played a holo game with R2. R2 made a move, and Chewie growled as he was beginning to lose. "It is a fair move. Screaming about it won't help you," 3PO scolded. "It ain't wise to upset a Wookiee," Han replied. "But sir, no one thinks twice about upsetting a droid," 3PO argued. "That's because droids don't pull people's arms out of their sockets when they lose," Han replied. 3PO looked at Chewie. "I see your point, sir. Let the Wookiee win," 3PO told R2, as Han turned his attention back to the kid. "A Jedi can feel the Force flowing through him," Obi-Wan instructed Luke. "It controls your actions?" Luke asked. "Partially, but it also obeys your commands," Obi-Wan instructed. Suddenly the remote got Luke and stung him, causing Han to chuckle. "Wookiee religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster," Han said. "You don't believe in the Force, do you?" Luke asked. "Kid, I've been from one end of this galaxy to the other. Seen a lot of strange stuff. But I ain't seen anything that will make me believe that there is one all-powerful Force binding us all together. It's just a bunch of simple tricks and nonsense," he replied, with a firm amount of disdain in his voice. Obi-Wan simply smiled quietly, a beeping interrupting the silence, and Han got up. "Looks like we're coming up on Alderaan," Han said, as he went to the cockpit with Chewie. "It is confirmed, Governor. We found a rebel base on Dantooine, but it has been determined that it was abandoned for some time," the officer replied. "She lied to us?" Tarkin said angrily. "I told you she would not willingly betray the rebellion," Vader replied. "Terminate her immediately!" Tarkin ordered. Han brought them out of hyperspace and the ship lurched. "We've come out of a meteor shower or something," Han said. "Well, where's Alderaan?" Luke asked. "That's what I'm trying to tell you, kid. It ain't there. It's been blown away." Han replied. "Destroyed by the Empire," Obi-Wan said gravely. "No way! An Imperial Star Destroyer doesn't have enough power to destroy a whole planet," Han argued. Suddenly a small TIE fighter zoomed past them. "Where'd he come from?" Luke asked. "I don't know. There's no bases out here," Han replied. "He must be headed to that small moon." Luke pointed. Obi-Wan and Rex glanced at each other, worry etched on their faces. "That's no moon. It's a space station," Obi-Wan said. "It's too big to be a space station," Han argued. But as they got closer, he retracted that statement. "I have a very bad feeling," Luke said. "Chewie, get us out of here," Han ordered. "Why are we still moving towards it?" Luke yelled. "It's not me. We've been caught in a tractor beam," Han yelled back. "It's too late. But this is a freighter, right?" Rex replied. "Yeah, why?" Han asked. "Where are your floor panels?" Rex asked. "How do you know about those?" Han questioned. "I've been a pilot for a long time, and I've been on all kinds of ships. Now our only chance is to hide in those panels or be captured." Rex said. "This way," Han said as he and Chewie led the way. The Millennium Falcon was slowly pulled into the docking bay. Once it was docked, stormtroopers began checking it for passengers, but found none. "There appears to be no one on board. Perhaps they escaped, as all escape pods have been jettisoned," the officer reported to Vader. "I want a full scan of this ship. If you find anything, let me know immediately," Vader ordered, as he stopped for a moment, looking around. "I sense something. A presence I have not felt since," Vader trailed off, before storming out of the docking bay. Han and Chewie lifted the floor panels and hopped out of the secret compartments. "It's lucky you had these," Luke said as he watched Rex and Obi-Wan quickly overpower 3 stormtroopers. "I use them for smuggling. I never thought I'd be smuggling myself," Han replied. "Is everything okay out there?" one of the officers replied. Everything's fine, Rex called back in a voice that sounded identical to the other stormtroopers. Okay, you two, suit up. I've got an idea, Rex said. Obi-Wan smirked. As crazy as this idea is, it might just work. Obi-Wan replied, Of course it will work. We just need to find out where we need to go to disable the tractor beam, Rex said. With careful stealth, they managed to slip into a nearby control room. You should be able to log into the Imperial network from here, Obi-Wan told R2. The little droid logged in and brought up a map of the base. He says that the main controls are coupled to the main reactor in 7 locations. 3PO replied, We'll never be able to make it past that tractor beam. Han said, Leave that to me, Obi-Wan said as he left the room. I knew you were gonna say that, Han grumbled. Stay here and wait for me, Obi-Wan ordered. Where did you dig up that old fossil? Han ordered. Ben is a great man, Luke defended. Besides, I don't see you making any suggestions. I already got more than I bargained for on this trip in the first place. But anything's better than hanging here, Han replied. R2 whirled. What's he saying? Luke asked. He says he's found her. 3PO replied. Who? Rex asked. Princess Leia. 3PO replied. The princess? Luke exclaimed. If Leia is here, we need to find her and fast. Rex said, Hey, the fossil told us to stay here. Han replied, Just a minute ago you said... Luke was cut off. I didn't mean going on some rescue mission, Han argued. Where is she, 3PO? Luke asked. Level AA23, detention block. She's scheduled to be terminated, 3PO reported. Oh no, Luke said. Don't worry, kid. We'll get her out before they do, Rex reassured him. I'm not going anywhere, Han replied. But they're going to execute her, Luke argued. Better her than me, Han retorted. Luke turned away and thought for a moment before turning back. She's rich, Luke said. Rex smirked. Rich? Han asked. Luke nodded. Rich and powerful. Rescue her and your reward will be... Luke trailed off. What? Han asked. Well, more than you can imagine, Luke exclaimed. I don't know. I can imagine quite a bit, Han replied. Luke picked up a pair of blinders. I have an idea, Luke said, as he tried to put them on Chewie. Chewie growled. Okay, you put these on, he said as he handed them to Han. Don't worry, Chewie, I think I know what they have in mind, Han replied as he put the binders on the Wookiee. Rex ordered the droids to stay put and wait for orders. He, Han and Luke put their helmets back on and marched their quote-unquote prisoner to the detention block. When they arrived, the officer looked at them with disdain. Where are you taking this... thing? He asked. Prisoner transfer, Rex replied. I wasn't notified. I'll have to clear it, the man said, picking up the comm. Louis growled angrily and he hit the man. He's loose! Luke called. Blaster fire rang through the corridor as Han and Luke blasted the attendants. Go find your princess, Han said as he attended to the comm call. Everything's fine, Luke said into the comm. What happened? The man asked. Slight weapons malfunction. Everything's fine now. Good. Fine. How are you? Han winced, knowing that wasn't what to say. What's your operating number? I'm sending a squad up there immediately, the voice said. Han grimaced and blasted the comm. The conversation was boring anyway. Luke, we're gonna have company, Han called. Luke and Rex hurried and eventually found the correct cell. They opened it and stepped inside. Leia woke up and looked at him through bleary eyes. Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper? She asked sarcastically. Huh? Oh, the uniform, Luke said as he removed his helmet. I'm Luke Skywalker, and this is Rex. We're here to rescue you, he said. You're who? She asked. We're here to rescue you, and we've got Ben Kenobi with us, Luke replied. Leia jumped up. Ben Kenobi? Where is he? She asked. Come on, Luke replied as he helped her out of the cell. Obi-Wan Kenobi? Surely he is dead by now, Tarkin said doubtfully. Don't underestimate the power of the Force. He is here, and I must face him alone, Leia replied. There's been a breach on level AA-23. An officer reported. The princess? Tarkin asked. Kenobi is here, Vader said. Set the entire base on alert. They must not be allowed to escape, Tarkin ordered. With a sway of his cape, Vader left the conference room to find the Jedi. Han, Leia and Luke dodged blaster bolts as they wove through the corridors. Nice escape route, Leia complained. Maybe you'd like it better back in your cell, your highness, Han retorted. Rex threw his helmet off, deciding there was no hiding his allegiance now. They kept running, and Rex knew they had to throw them off quickly. He blasted a hole in the side of the corridor and shoved them towards it. In you go, Rex said as the three of them dumped themselves down the trash chutes. Oh, what an interesting smell you've discovered, Han complained. It's better than being in the detention block, but I suppose you'll find anything to complain about, Leia retorted. All right, let's concentrate on getting out of this mess. I didn't choose the trash compactor by mistake, Rex said. Then why exactly did you choose it? Han asked. All trash comes in here, which means there are several chutes. Give me a minute and I'll be able to find the opening that can lead us to the closest one to the docking bay, Rex replied. Wow, you know a lot about Imperial ships and bases, Luke mentioned. Well, before they were Imperial ships and bases, they were Republic ships and bases. Not too much has changed in the way they design things. At least not in the basics, Rex said as he waded through the filth. It's that one! He pointed to the one above him. As he said that, Luke was suddenly pulled under by something. Luke! Leia cried. Luke! Rex called as they looked around in the filthy water. He surfaced again, and there was a tentacle wrapped around his neck. Rex aimed his blaster with expert precision and shot the creature's appendage, releasing his nephew. Luke coughed violently as Han and Leia helped him up. Thanks, Uncle, he said as he recovered. Let's get out of here, before that thing decides to try and eat one of us again, Rex said as he opened the shaft. You want us to climb that thing? Leia asked, looking at him incredulously. Sorry, Princess, but it's the only way. This ventilation shaft will take us nearly all the way to the docking bay. Ben has probably deactivated the tractor beam by now, and it won't be long before they discover what he's done and reactivate it, Rex replied, as he helped Luke in the first to lead the way, and Leia after him. Up you two go, Rex said, fortunate that the shaft was large enough for Chewie to get through. I'm getting way more than I bargained for on this trip. That old fossil and the princess better pay up if we get out of this, Han grumbled. Rex smirked. Don't worry, Captain. You'll get your money, Rex assured him, as he followed Chewie into the shaft. Obi-Wan hopped down from the terminal. That should be that. We should be able to take off now, Obi-Wan said quietly to himself, as he began heading back to the docking bay. Suddenly, a dark presence stopped him in his tracks. Vader, Obi-Wan said as he rounded the corner and found Vader waiting for him in the docking bay. Vader ignited his blood-red saber. Obi-Wan stepped back and ignited his own sapphire blade. So we meet again, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Vader said. Your evil didn't win before, Vader, and it won't win this time either, Obi-Wan replied. We shall see, Vader retorted as the duel began. Han, Leia, Chewie, Luke and Rex finally reached the docking bay through the vent, where the Millennium Falcon sat nearby. Get on board, Han ordered. Luke stopped to see Obi-Wan fighting with whom he assumed was Vader. Obi-Wan knew that he could easily sacrifice himself to make sure everyone else escaped. But if that happened, he would leave his wife and daughter behind, and he wasn't about to let that happen. With a surge of adrenaline that Vader was not expecting, and he didn't even know he still had in him, Vader kicked his feet into the device box on Vader's chest, sending him flailing back. Obi-Wan took a momentary opportunity to follow Rex up the ramp of the Falcon, just as Han was taking off. I hope you got that shield down, old man, or this is going to be a real short trip, Han said. I assure you that everything is in order, Captain. Once you get us clear, set a course for Polis Massa, Obi-Wan replied. Look, old man, I ain't going on any more of your wild Gornak chasers, Han retorted. Set a course for the Polis Massa, Captain. It is imperative we get both Luke and Leia there. The fate of the galaxy may depend on what's there, Obi-Wan said firmly. Fine, whatever. Strap in already, Han replied angrily. Han flew the Falcon out of the Death Star docking bay and made its way from the tractor beam's pole. Setting the correct coordinates, he carefully calculated the jump to hyperspace. Once safely there, Han undid his harness and stormed back into the cabin. "Look, old man, what is with this Polis Massa stuff? Why would you want to go into a watery hell like that? There ain't nothing there but just that. Water," Han said angrily. "Polis Massa? Then I must really return to Yavin 4 as soon as possible with the plans for the Death Star," Leia said. "I know, Leia, but what is on Polis Massa is very important for both you and Luke." Obi-Wan replied, "He's right. Think of this as just a minor detour, before we return you to the Rebel base. There is something of great importance to both of you on Polis Massa." Rex confirmed. "What are you talking about?" Luke asked. "There is much we need to tell you both, indeed. Sit down and we'll begin," Obi-Wan said. "Is this about my parents?" Luke blurted. "Yes, Luke, it is. And it involves Leia as well. In a way she cannot imagine. It is a long story. A story that we have wanted to tell you for years. And now the time has finally come," Obi-Wan began. "Yeah, your parents aren't exactly as dead as everyone thinks," Rex added. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Okay, pretty standard New Hope, but they made sure that Obi-Wan didn't die and they were on the way to Polis Massa. So yeah, a bit of a cliffhanger there. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe and hit that bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.